guys, it's me, Sugar. I'm here with my husband, Jeff.
Hello.
Sorry for the long wait. Seriously, I lost my voice, then Jeff lost his voice. Then we just became sick. But during that whole time, we still had no voice. So
we're in a part of Canada where that polar vortex hit, and we had days where it was closer to minus 50 than it was to minus 40.
Yeah, it was. It's hard on the body, put it that way.
Yeah,
I think the second my body knew change was coming, it's like, nope, preserve it.
Well, and then the thing that lots of people don't understand, for those listeners out there who have never been in weather like that.
And if you're new, we're in Canada. So.
Yeah. Well, just minus 40 is the same in Fahrenheit and in Celsius, so everybody should have a pretty good idea.
No, it's not.
The second, that's where they meet up, is minus 40.
Oh, okay.
But the second you go outside, like all of the wetness in your body is taken away. So everything is super dry. That leads to a lot of throat problems. It leads to a lot of like illnesses of the throat and cough, all this sort of stuff. So
even Jeff saw. It was like one day I was out and about. I was like, it's not that bad. It was like minus 43, and I was like, bah. And I came inside and instantly, literally, it's like it hadn't been like for the longest time, just pouring blood from my nose. It's like too dry.
Yep. And that in turn affects your voice and everything. So it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun anime-wise, though.
So you might hear us being a little off. Our voices aren't 100% yet, but they're pretty close. So we were going to talk about, I know we usually have an end for last season, but it's kind of a bit of a ways. I feel like our mid-season, last season kind of covered where we were. We'll talk about a couple things that are continuing on. We'll talk about new things this season because it's exciting. Yeah. I wouldn't say there's a ton this season, but the ones that stand out are substantial.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get rolling. Our first one is continuing. It's Black Clover. I've been watching it myself. I've been enjoying it. I still find that some episodes really wavers on animation quality. I'm a fan. Some people might say I'm crazy because I've heard it from a couple of you, and that's okay to feel that way. Is that I prefer the subs over the dub. I can't stand Asta's voice in the dub. I don't know why. The only thing where I'm like, oh, that's tolerable is like, Captain Yami is Christopher.
I could come around to liking one of the most prolific voice actors in the history of English anime.
But I can honestly say myself, I feel like the majority of the voices in the sub are better. Like, I still like Yami's voice in the Japanese versus Christopher Sabat. I feel like he does a good job because that's his thing, is doing a good job with his voice. But I feel like the Japanese voice actor matches the personality of Yami best. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. So I don't feel like we should linger on it too much. It's the same old in the sense that it isn't for everybody. It is pretty quickly paced in the sense of not lingering too long, knowing what it is, having decent villains, having decent fights. The only thing, like I said, is sometimes it wavers on the animation.
Yeah, it seems like Boruto and Black Clover must change animation. Like that, the A team works on one for a little while, and then the B team comes in and takes over, because at times when Boruto looks really, really good, it's kind of when Black Clover seems to suffer, and then it goes reverse. Yeah,
especially when the Naruto Sasuke fight happened, it was like, ooh, everybody went over to Boruto. But whatever. So let's move on to the next one. Is Boogiepop Never Laughs. So,
oh, that look Sugar just gave.
I know it was originally done years ago, but we're talking about the most recent one. Personally, Jeff can say his piece too, but after the first episode, I dropped it, and a bunch of people said that, oh, well, if you keep watching, things start to make sense if you just reshuffle episodes around, and I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. I don't feel like you should. And I'm sure somebody who's watched the channel for a long time will say, Lindsay, you like Baccano. That's true. Baccano made it interesting to want to keep watching, though, to understand the complexity of what was going on, giving you this bait of being like, holy shit, this is awesome. Where the first episode of Boogiepop, I'm like, what's with these walk cycles? What's with these people? Why does none of this make sense? Why do I not care? It's like all of these things, I remember the things that I liked about it was like, oh, the music was pretty good, and like the funny kind of costume for for like what Boogiepop is, you know, same with the original. But it's like, other than that, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that it's fair to say that after a first episode, you shouldn't have to be told by somebody like, well, like, continue to watch it, it starts to get better, it continues to improve, etc., etc. You have to be hooked in an episode. Or like, if not hooked, you have to make sure that your audience isn't turned away.
Yeah.
The same problem happened with Goblin Slayer, where their first episode, they got a lot of word of mouth, but they turned away a whole bunch of their potential audience when the rest of the season wasn't anywhere near that graphic or that, exploitative. I'll say that. And here, people do talk about how, well, it gets better and it fills in some blanks and it gets more entertaining and all this sort of stuff. I'm like,
I don't care.
You haven't made me care about it at all.
Yeah, the first episode wasn't like, oh god, I can't wait to see what happens. It's like, I don't give a shit. Like, it was
care.
Well, seriously, it's like nothing happened where I'm like, God, I need to know what happened to blank or blank or blank. It's like, okay, they disappeared. I don't know them. I don't care. It sounds very cold, but it's like, seriously, like, Bakano did it best, where it's like, the first episode was holy shit.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, how did we get here? Like, this is the end. Obviously, I'm spoiled. No. It makes so little sense to see it first that you're like, I want to know how we got here. Yeah, whereas like seeing this, you're like, I don't care. It's like it's blah. It's just blah, and it drives me crazy. I heard people were pretty excited about the opener. It's okay. That's what I'll say. I'd say Black Clover hit it out of for the most repeated openers in the year, because it did pretty good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Boogiepop is okay. I think people are just like, oh, naked chick, and I'm like,
at the end of the day, here's the thing: is that Sugar has kind of made it her interests of anything is anime, and her to watch list is still like 300.
I was so proud of myself
long.
Over the break, because when I lost my voice, I'm like, I got time now. I can watch things. So I think my list was at almost 100, and now it's down to 80. And I'm like, I'm so proud of myself. And Jeff's is like,
you do know you haven't added this.
It's like,
you're like, hey, shh, you be quiet. But when you have a list that is 80 long of things that you're already talking about how, well, I need to watch that, I need to catch up on this, I need to do this, that, or the other.
Right.
You don't have the time anymore to be, after an episode, and you're like, I really just didn't care.
Yeah.
It's the thing. It's not like it was offensively bad. It was offensively boring.
It's offensively boring, and the walk cycle sucked.
And hey, if you're totally into it, and you're like, I really like this mystery, it got me. That's why we're all totally different people.
Yeah, exactly. It's gotten to a point where I know there's, not to veer off topic, a lot of people say to me that I don't feel like there's a lot of good anime. And it's like, I just feel like some people, this isn't always true, I feel like the main problem is that they don't want to filter through everything. And that's basically my job. Unofficially my job. You know what I mean? I go through different forums, different pages, different everything, and I've gone through and I've weeded out the things like, this is iconic, this is classic, this is something highly rated, this is something I've wanted to watch. Like, I'll talk about it at the end of the video, but there's something I've been waiting for a long time to watch, and it was so satisfying getting to it, because it reached me on all levels. But anyways, Boogiepop, seemingly really boring. I wouldn't recommend it. If you feel like it's up your alley, or you saw the original and you really liked it, then I think it might be up your alley, but overall, pretty boring. Next one, which is super good. Super, super, super good. And you probably saw me when I was sick on Twitter about it. It's Dororo. And it's so freaking good. So, long story short, it is about the same people, VLN, who brought forth Karakuri Circus. And their whole concept is taking old ideas and making them more modern. So it's very much like an older story about, can I say nobility having a child, but making a deal with demons in order to get his wish, but in turn takes away the eyes, the skin, the appendages of the baby that's born. And so you find out how the baby survived. And obviously you see in the opener that he has swords for arms and things like that. And it's so good. And my friend asked me what a way to kind of quantify it. And honestly, it's almost in the sense of Berserk, where as I choke on my own spit, my body's like, rejected. No. It's almost like Berserk in the sense that it's gory. It's not afraid to go on to topics that are emotional, that are hard to watch, that are, so far we're a couple episodes in and we're dealing with things about war and death and PTSD, prostitution, things like that. And it's very honest about it. And it's so well animated. Such a great aesthetic. Such a great opener. We play it all the time.
Yes. It is the first great, I feel like, action anime of the year. And the thing is that it has great action sequences, but it also is very good at taking its time with like the quiet moments, and characterization is excellent. All these other things that need to happen to elevate something beyond, well, that's great action. I would argue something like Boruto has a lot of great action, but everything else, it's there to get you to the next action piece.
Yeah.
Here, I would argue that the action pieces, while they're fantastic and you really are like amped to watch them, you're more amped to watch the characters live in this world and see kind of what's going on. It is, I think the original is from the late 50s to the early 60s. It was written by the same person, I believe, who wrote Astro Boy and did Astro Boy.
Oh gosh, I can't remember.
One of the,
you always bring up facts that I'm like, I don't remember.
It's definitely made by one of like the first people who really got into serialized manga and anime. So it is a well-known property if you know the history, and it has been adapted before, but it feels so oddly modern despite its trappings in the late 50s or early 60s. And it does a lot of like philosophical things, but it's not in your face about it. Lots of the themes that it talks about are actually kind of more Buddhist in nature. It's talking about, being comfortable with what you have, and yet the constant struggle of our main character to retrieve the body that was ripped away from him. But as you go through the series, you find that almost every single time he gets a part of himself back, something else really bad in the world happens. He gets...
Yes, so every time he takes down a demon,
Yeah, so these demons... Basically, his father, this noble lord type, basically was like, you can take anything you want from me and my family as long as you make us prosper. And so these demons took of his firstborn child. So the firstborn child was born, as you said, like without arms and without skin and without eyes and the ability to hear and all that. And as he continues to kind of cut through everything and kill a demon, he gets a part of that back.
So Dororo, the manga we were talking about, was done in the 60s. It was done by Osamu Tezuka, who, did Astro Boy.
Yeah. So he
did a lot of things, but that's probably the most iconic.
Definitely, it's an iconic piece from somebody who is rightfully revered as one of the progenitors. I don't think that's a word.
So let's say what?
Of anime as we know it today.
We'll say he's the prodigy.
And so
instead of making up words.
I can't think of a single audience that this wouldn't work for.
Well, anybody who
definitely
doesn't like gore.
It's, but I would say that it's not.
You can't say it's not gory.
Well, I mean it lightly. Like
I was about to say his arms are sore.
Yes. But at the same point, they don't...
He doesn't, do, cooking.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you look at, the level of gore for something like Berserk, it doesn't hit those levels. It doesn't revel in a character taking a sword the size of a table and literally slicing and bashing through somebody's face and showing sinew and all that sort of stuff.
I'd say it wasn't obscene in the sense of focusing on the gore, but very much in the sense of he has swords for hands and legs. Like, he cuts things apart, whether it be human or it be a monster, and that's not shied away from. It shows, like, what happens when he slices into them. I just say it wouldn't be as, like I said, as obscene in a sense as Berserk, in the sense that it was brutally gore. Can I say that at times?
There's no brutality.
But at the same token, it kind of does. And I would argue that with the scene with the rusted sword.
Well, again, though, they don't focus on like what happens to the body parts.
I was about to say, they don't focus in exactly on that scene to kind of glorify that gore, but it doesn't shy away from it either.
No,
it doesn't show how badly it is.
It is a dirty world that is all about samurai fighting each other, and demons exist in the world. Everybody knows that demons exist, so it's just a given that this is the world we live in. So to give you the kind of example of how dark it can get, some of the episodes, like one episode in particular, shows a guy basically crucifying other people that are still alive. That's how dark it can get. That's how I say it. Borderlines Berserk levels in the sense that it doesn't shy away from the brutality. Yes. But there's... That's all I want to say. So, yes. It's excellent. It's excellent. Yes, definitely watch it. It's amazing. It would be... great animation. I would say it would be the runaway hit of this season if it wasn't for one other anime. Well, I find that they're different. They accomplish different things, and we'll talk about that. But I feel like Dororo especially focuses on the senses. Like, I feel like, obviously, our main character is missing senses, so we experience that, and we realize how valuable having those senses are, especially when the one episode where he gets his hearing back, and it's very overwhelming. And even the last 6 episodes, we've already had episodes that made us cry. Yes. And so it's very heartfelt, very well written, very everything. So definitely give it a go. If you're a little bit light on the stomach, maybe not, but I would still ask you to look to push through it. It's not fucking Goblin Slayer's sick. It is a time period honesty. Can I say that? But let's move on. So next up, we're just going to quickly cover Dragon Ball Super. We've been doing the dub. Still disappointing. How can I say? We're getting more, because we're still in the dub, we're getting more into the tournament. So that'll be fun. The leading up to it has been so disappointing, so I'm so bitter. I'm just bitter sauce. I'm a fan. Okay, here's my thing. I just want to put it out there, and crucify me if you want to in the comments. Do it. Just kidding. Dragon Ball, as a shonen, was never better than an 8 out of 10. Honestly. I don't find this as an 8 out of 10. No, but what I'm saying I'm making that very clear. Is that... No, it was never a 10 out of 10, but what it did in the past was good for the majority. I would say Dragon Ball was really good for the most part. Dragon Ball Z was like half good and half fan fulfillment, wish fulfillment type stuff, I felt like. But Dragon Ball Z still had a lot of things when I was a kid where I was like, oh man, when you were a kid. And doesn't matter. I've watched it when I was an adult. When I was an adult, am an adult. And there were still things where I remember looking like, it's so nostalgic watching it. I was like, man, I remember how excited I was seeing this happen. I just remember it being pissed off because like fights would last like weeks. But otherwise, if we wanted to go into it, the pacing is normally very poor. The power scaling ends up going crazy. I get it. That's not my problem, though, with Super. Super is just shitty. Super? To me, it feels like Super is just more of what they were doing in the Boo saga, which was, this is ridiculous. This is all about what fans want to see happen, which is the reason why you bring back a character like Future Trunks. You know, that whole thing with Future Trunks this time is... It does, I think, exactly what the Boo saga was doing, which is that Dragon Ball inherently at this point is silly and stupid, and it's all about let's get Goku and Vegeta to be powerful enough to destroy universes. I feel like Kylo Ren, where it's just like, let it die.
It's just like this whole thing of Dragon Ball.
Now,
it's like if they want
we
to
haven't seen the Broly movie. Apparently that's very good, and it subdues a lot of stuff, and it takes itself as seriously as it should.
I don't think it can fix all of Super.
No. I'm just saying
I'm glad it's great. I've heard it's really good, but it won't fix how I feel.
Super is like a 6 out of 10, and I feel like it's better than GT was, so...
Let's not go into that basket. But,
it's fine. It is just fine.
It's fine. Let's move on. So the next one is Hinomaru Sumo. Still, like we said before, you mentioned it in our... you'll have to go and look where. But we mentioned it in our video for our top 10, or could it be in our honorable mentions? I'll have to go check. But Hinomaru Sumo has still been really good. It's still kept up the quality. The characters are really enjoyable. The fights they have are still quite interesting to watch. I get excited watching the matches because you're like, it feels like you're in an actual match and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah.
It's so much tension and drama over something that, like they even say, most of these matches last 15, 20 seconds. And yet you get all this drama and this suspense and this, like we literally cheer when certain things are happening and certain characters overcome, what they've been working against for weeks and weeks now, and you're just like, yes.
And it's so funny because I remember us watching, I won't say which episode, but it seemed like one person was going to win, and they're like, well, I've been practicing on a counter, and then they put their foot down. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, the action of putting a foot down. And you're just like, oh.
The whole dynamics changed in the fight. Yeah.
And, this, beyond the respect for the sport and hyping up sumo like it should, beyond that, it has a lot of really likable characters. There aren't really any, villains. There's lots of rivals, but I kind of respect where they're all coming from, and all of them are just talking about how
excuse me,
I want to be the best, and to be the best, I have to go through you.
You gotta pass the test. You gotta take it all.
No, I feel lots of sports anime kind of get away with making rivals be unnecessarily mean and ruthless and we're just going to make them jerks.
A Disney movie where it's like somebody has to be the asshole.
Sort of. Whereas with Hinomaru Sumo, every single one of the rivals so far has had respect for the sport. Yeah. They've had respect for the people that they're facing. And it seems like the more respect they have for each other, the more almost animosity they have for each other, which is great because they see each other as a rival to improve upon themselves rather than... You're a jerk, and I want you to lose because you're a jerk.
And that's Jeff and I were laughing because I said I can totally relate because I'm sure some of you have heard in other podcasts. I used to be more of a sporty person. And it's just the people who are dicks but are actually really good at what they do, and you're like, fuck, they can back it up though. So it's shit. And it's they have a right to be cocky. So it's they can back it up. And it's the same thing there. It's some of the people who have a bit of arrogance. It's but he's really good.
LeBron James has a reason to be a little arrogant.
But so good. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's very enjoyable. The characters are a lot of fun. I'd say the bouts are probably the best thing because you really don't know. And
we don't know enough about sumo to know if it is really realistic to kind of what in terms of teaching you about what's the different steps in becoming the best sumo wrestler or a professional and all that sort of stuff. But it seems like it takes a lot of that very seriously, and it isn't just sumo is just the background for this story we want to tell.
Yeah.
The story is about sumo and the sport of sumo wrestling.
See, one thing I'll say, and that's personally... For me to enjoy something sports related, everybody's different, but this is me, and that's how I know they take the thing seriously. There's a lot of things in Hinomaru Sumo are explained, the hierarchy, what some of these things mean, to have certain belts to whatever, and I feel like that indicates to me that they care about what they're writing about, because that was the same with Yuri on Ice, and it's the same with a bunch of other things that I like sports related. It explains things. To me, it tells me right away that I won't like it, or that it doesn't take it seriously. That's why, and I know you've heard it 100 times, Welcome to the Ballroom pissed me off, because it doesn't explain dancing very well to those who aren't new, who are new to it and who aren't. Like, I was a competitive dancer, and I feel like they didn't do it justice, and that pissed me off more than anything. And that's the thing. It's like, I feel like things like that, personally, this is me talking again, they should spark that interest in the audience. They should make them realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because prancing around doesn't look that hard. But when you do it in, like, specific, like, box step, or you have to have a frame, you have to, like, there's so many things. It is tiring. It is exhausting. It's stressful.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't feel like they reiterated in it. Like, if they did way down the line, whatever, but I feel like that's too late.
We gave that
I gave it a fair shake.
Like, we did, like, I think 6 or 7 episodes.
I was like, we gave it a fair shake. People talk about me in Food Wars, but I gave that a legitimate shake.
Raptor next.
But anyways, Hinomaru Sumo. Watch it. Mm-hmm. Next one. Continuing for us, because Jeff is watching the dub, I'm doing the sub in Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff's getting into the meat of it now.
Yes.
And I'm already past the meat of it.
Let's just say we had... I don't want to...
Let's say kaboom is where Jeff's at.
Yeah. Yeah, kaboom, and then
and I'm
Mansion on a Hill. Mansion on a Hill just happened. For those who have watched Hunter x Hunter and enjoyed it immensely. And I've been saying this...
And me, you'll know where I am when I say blimps.
And so I appreciate why lots of people rate it so highly, because it does... This is one of the best, I would say, arcs in shonen. So I can understand. I remember we were watching it beforehand, especially during Greed Island, and I was harsh to it. I was like, I don't understand how anybody puts this up on the same pedestal as something like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I still
hold those.
That valuation. Yeah. But when something ends the way this is ending, I can see why there's some words that Michael P. Huber talks about, which is the culmination. This is the culmination of what has been happening through Hunter x Hunter up until this point, and I feel like it is the best way that this series could kind of wind down.
I wish it had ended at the end of this arc. Like, stuff that happens after has been okay, but I feel like it would have gracefully ended after the Chimera Ant arc, personally speaking. Yeah,
I know I've only got a few more episodes left until the Chimera Ant arc is done, and then you move on to the fallout from the Chimera Ant arc.
Basically.
I still don't necessarily agree with Sugar's view on the fact that...
What have I done?
No, the king and how you felt about the growth of that character. I still haven't seen it.
He'll just have to wait. When it happens, then you can give your opinion. But for now, you are not allowed to.
I believe we basically have, if I had to guess, I think, given, some weeks off they take now and then, the dub should probably be done like October or November. So it should be done by the end of this year. And then I'll be able to kind of give my full sort of breakdown on it, because I feel like it does deserve that sort of element. Mm-hmm. The Chimera Ant arc has been excellent so far. Yeah.
Excuse me. So we'll leave it at that, because Hunter x Hunter is a classic, and I'm sure most of you have heard of it, and we can't really talk about it until we're all done. So, we'll move on. Kaguya, Love is War. So, I've started this myself. It's been... I'm trying to think of a way to say this. Obviously, I'm losing my voice. The opener is great.
When you have to start with that leads me to believe.
No. I would say the opener is very catchy. I wouldn't even say great. It's pretty good. And the show itself, I find, is kind of funny in a way. Like, I thought it was... It reminds me of me when I was in high school, where you have this guy that you're interested in, but you will never say that you like them, because then that makes you weaker of the two. And so it's this back and forth between a guy and a girl, and won't say that they like each other, even though they do. So basically, it's just I wish there was more to it than what it's trying to do. I find that it kind of isolates itself in a sense of environment and the amount of characters that it's currently utilizing. Mm-hmm. And I wish there was more to it than simply, mental back and forth of verbal play never ending. You know what I mean? I wish it was more than that, if that makes sense. I just don't want to spoil anything for you. That's why I'm being careful with my words. But I feel like it could have been something more than what it is and made it even better and funnier.
I think
I'm worried that it's going to be super redundant. Well, because I feel like there's only so much you can do with that premise. So far it's been enjoyable, but it's kind of been at certain points where I've rolled my eyes and been like, come on. Like,
so it is trying to, like, I haven't watched it, so it's trying to be a comedy first? Is that what it's trying to be?
I'm going to check and see what it's marked as, but I think it's a rom-com because obviously it's about romance, and it's kind of funny about what it's trying to do and the fact that they're treating it like war. Like, if... excuse me. God. It's the fact that they're going back and forth and they refuse to tell each other that they love each other or that they have any interest at all in each other. And it shows, like, part of that power play is because they're from, he's considered a genius and she is from a very wealthy family. So their backgrounds alone kind of incline them not to mingle with one another. But it's marked as a rom-com psychological school seinen.
See.
Yes. So... I don't know. It's funny, and the relationship between them is funny in the sense that, his worst fear is hearing her say, "Oh, how cute," and her thing is obviously hearing that both of them trying to coax each other into saying they have feelings. So it's funny, but at the same time redundant at times, and I wish it would kind of expand more the world they're in, the kinds of like other more vexing situations that would cause, can I say, extreme embarrassment or whatever. So far it's been pretty tame. And I hate at the end of every segment, because it's not a full episode of, like, something happening. It's, like, cut into segments of, like, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And then they're, like, at the end it's like, oh, who won this battle? He did, she did, nobody did, because they're both idiots sort of thing. I hate that it does that. It's like, just let it play out naturally. Why do you have to tell me these things? I know love is war, but you don't have to tell me which battles are won. It doesn't take an idiot to figure out who won the verbal battle of wits, you know what I mean? But that's just me personally. So I'll keep watching it. I'm worried at some point I'll drop it. We'll
don't
see.
Be worried. Like, if it's
I'm worried
not great,
because I just feel like some things just don't live up to my expectations. So that's, I think, do you have any questions for me?
Not in particular. I think that I've just discovered,
that I'm a bitter bitch.
No. I like my rom-coms to be a little bit more based on reality and a little bit more, I don't know, like, adult, I guess. You really like that one with, like, the 7 or 8 different romances that were happening in high school.
Ouran Host Club.
No, not Ouran Host Club. What was the other one that aired, like, last year or the year before?
Wait, last year?
Yeah.
I was about to say Fruits Basket.
No, it was the one that was, like, looking at, like, 7 or 8 different relationships.
Oh, Siri Dirty.
Yeah, and that I was
Dirty
like,
children.
I only cared about, like, 2 of them. And
I thought that was funny.
And you were talking about how you thought it was really funny, and a lot of it made you laugh, and for me, it just made me roll my eyes. So I think when it comes to rom-coms...
It's so funny, but the thing is with a series or children is the fact that you didn't like some parts that made you want to cringe, but that's so high school, where you do shit and you're like, fuck, I regret doing that. And it's so
cringe.
Funny to me. Yeah, that's
I don't like cringe humor. That's why I really like Wotaku as a rom-com, because I thought, well, that's actually substantial to me. It isn't like, oh, here's a bunch of idiots trying to navigate a relationship. This is more...
So I feel like that's the thing when you're learning love and, like, early on, you just do stupid crap and you realize it later. But when you're younger, it just seems like that's a good idea, but it's a terrible idea. I still laugh because I remember some of the things still. Funny.
I only liked, like, 2 of those relationships that were ongoing. one of them, he's like emotionally abusive. And, like, apparently that was perfectly fine at the end of the day. It was weird, and like that didn't really get to me at all. And you really enjoyed that. This one
I didn't enjoy that.
You enjoyed the anime.
You like that? It's like I did not.
You enjoyed the anime as a whole.
I enjoyed the anime, yes, because overall it was rather funny. It was very spot on for how young romance, and it's very sweet.
Give me Recovery and an MMO junkie.
Yeah, but that's more of a mature relationship.
Yeah, that's why, like, this here, I don't think I am at all the... I don't think that
this
I
wouldn't
would
be up
enjoy
Jeff's alley. This is, like I said, high school students, so no.
High school geniuses that are too stupid to realize that it's not.
Oh, they're not stupid. They both feel that each one has feelings for the other. They just refuse to be the first to say, "I love you,"
because they're stupid.
No, it's because it's a power move.
That's stupid.
So you can see that some people might not like it. So, anyways, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is continuing. It's Karakuri Circus. And it's been, can I say, it took a bit of a turn, one that I wasn't exactly expecting, so it's kind of made me vexed.
It takes like 17 right angles. You're like, whoa, wait, what?
I thought, like, with its craziness, I was like, I have a handle on it. And then the last few episodes, it's like, I have no handle on it now.
We're steering without handles at this point.
Basically, not to undermine, it's still good.
Oh, the
animation is still stellar. It's just the way the story's going. It's like, what the fuck is happening?
There is a lot of different concepts that are just being thrown at you all the time. Okay, here we go. We live in this world where people use marionettes to fight. I got that.
Got it.
Cool.
There's an aspect of this.
There are people who
are reincarnated.
Okay. There are people who are immortal?
Not immortal. Who are you referring to?
Kinda.
There
are people who drink synthetic blood to become like synthetic people, so they are themselves sort of marionettes. There's people who are losing. There are people who are losing limbs and then putting the marionette parts onto their body to replace it, and that is a great honor. You're like, whoa, this is a lot to take in 14 episodes.
You're looking for a crazy good time.
It is
crazy.
It's wonderful.
It's off the rails crazy, but it's enjoyable crazy.
Like, the animation is great. I feel that all of the performances have been really, really good so far. Mm-hmm. I feel that the world that they are building is excellent. Mm-hmm. It is super interesting. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of elements that are happening where I'm kind of like, okay, we could scale it back a touch, but whatever. If you want to go 150 miles an hour, you go 150 miles an hour. I don't know if that's how the manga was paced.
And it's funny because it feels like, for shows especially like this, where somebody like the narrator or whoever takes you by the hand, it's like, okay, let's gracefully move into this. It's like, no, shit's happening now. Get on board. It's like, when did we establish this could happen in this world?
We're doing it now. Now.
It is now a thing.
That was... What? The only negative that I can give it really is that the pace is so fast that a couple of things that happen that feel like they should have had
lingered
an emotional, it should have resonated with you.
It's like one of the best characters. I got attached, and in that same episode they died. I was like, what the fuck? I loved you.
Yeah.
But I loved you.
This
is just like, what the hell?
It's the opposite of It's doing the opposite thing of Game of Thrones, where like Game of Thrones is like
the long con,
We'll kill off a character who's been around for 4 seasons. Like, that's just how this story ends. Where here it's like, you start to like that character, we'll kill him off right now.
Yeah. It's like they had live polls where it's like, this is favoring really well. Kill him now. I was like, no. I loved him.
No. But no, it is, despite all those things, which sounds somewhat negative.
It's crazy.
It's such an enjoyable ride to be on, where you don't know what you're going to get when you're watching it. We thought for a while we kind of had a picture, and then they changed the picture. The picture, we were looking at a picture of a donkey, and now all of a sudden, oh no, it's the Eiffel Tower.
It's
Wait,
totally,
what?
It's
All right.
totally unrelated, but I feel like in Until Dawn, where he has the book, you're flipping through. You're like, when did this become about knives? Like,
but yeah, the animations are great.
Yeah.
The battle sequences are amazing.
so good.
Our main characters are like you understand them. You understand kind of their reasoning for doing what they're doing. You understand their characterization really well.
Yeah.
Just when you think that they're starting to maybe like neglect a character, they jump back to them. So
yeah, just as the last, I should say second last episode, it was like all of a sudden it's like jumps back. I was like, but we were on that storyline. I want to see what happens there. They're like, no, we haven't talked to them in a while. We have to go back to them. I was like, I'll wait.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we are always anxiously awaiting the next episode.
Yeah.
It isn't like
it's never a chore.
It's not that feeling where you're like, oh yeah, I wonder what crazy stuff they're gonna do next. You're like, man, I wonder. Like, I can't even imagine what they're going to do next.
And don't get me wrong, there are anime where I'm like, God, I've gone this far, I just need to finish it. Like, then there's ones I've just dropped, but, like, there are ones that make it feel like almost like if this doesn't pay off, I'm going to be pissed sort of thing. But this has been, like, every time I go to watch it, I'm like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm interested to see where that is.
And I've got a friend who I work with. I won't name them. I'll just say, too good for everything.
I know who you're talking about.
And he says that he's kind of become a little disillusioned with anime in the past few years, because he says it feels like the same 12 anime are being done over and over and over again. This feels entirely unique and entirely different from anything that I've seen thus far.
Well, that's what some people have said to me, like, can you tell me what it's like? And I'm like, I really can. It's like, if you like the puppet aspect of Naruto, that's the best I can do for you.
Parts of it are based on that sort of idea. Yeah. Not everything.
Yeah.
But parts of it are.
Everything else, I'm like, I don't know what to compare it to. Like, it's so different.
It feels so unique, and it is not afraid to swing for the fences. And there's been a couple of times where I've been like, I don't know if I liked that element that they introduced as much as I would have liked it this way or that way.
Yeah.
But it's also never been a point where I'm like, ooh. It's more like, huh, all right.
And there have been several scenes where I've cried, so it does a good job of lingering sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's not always moving too fast.
And this was the one as well. Like, it's a newer studio, but it's like an offshoot
VLN.
Of, what was it an offshoot of? Is it an offshoot?
Oh gosh, I think it's Madhouse.
Or maybe Madhouse. So it is definitely they're a talented group, and you can tell in what they're doing animation-wise. You could tell that they really care about the source material, and what a 1-2 punch to start off a brand new studio with, even if it is kind of like, oh, we do also work with this group, but we're forming our own studio that is on our own time, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not too familiar exactly with all the business side of it, but when we were like, Studio VOLN, we have no idea what this is. I've never seen this intro before. And then you looked them up, and I was like, that's it so far. And now they're doing something else this season as well. And both of them have been wonderful.
What do you mean doing something else? They're doing Dororo.
Yeah. Yes, they're doing Dororo.
Dororo.
And
Dororo.
What a 1-2 punch to start off a studio. Holy man. That's so good.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm just looking up really quick while I have this, because I don't want to forget it. So it's I kept saying VLN, sorry, VOLN.
Yeah, VOLN.
VOLN. And it is a offshoot from, give me 5 seconds. Talk about it tomorrow.
It has probably one of my favorite characters in anime from the past 5 years now. Honestly. Like I can't even say our main character, one of our 3 main protagonists.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'll finish when you're done.
Okay. Yeah, he is one of the most likable human beings that I've ever met in an anime series, where all his whole bit is like, I just want to see people smile.
Yeah.
I want the world to be a better place.
He reminds me a little bit of Sylvando.
From Dragon Quest XI. It's just like, if all my life came down to was, I made a lot of people smile and made their lives better, that's been a good life for me.
And he's talking about Narumi.
Yes.
And so anyways, VOLN. I talked about it a bit on Twitter, but my mind's kind of crummy lately. Studio VOLN, which stands for Visiting Old, Learn New. The studio was founded on August 12th, 2014 by ex-Madhouse producer and director Mita Keiji. So, who currently heads the company and its president and representative. And so the studio's first 2 animated series were co-produced with MAPPA. So.
Okay. I mean, that's just production. I think that they're pretty much doing...
Oh, yeah, they're doing their own stuff.
They're doing the heavy lifting.
But yeah, ex-Madhouse. So that's great. They're great. I can't wait to see what else they're doing. So far, it's been Karakuri Circus. That's been, like, stuff that have been unexpectedly good. And same with Dororo.
Yes.
The source material was good, but it doesn't always mean the anime will be.
Yeah, of course.
And so it was nice to see that it was done well.
Mm-hmm. Great adaptation. Let's
move on. So before we move on to the next one, Jeff asked me specifically what Studio VOLN had done. So they had done Ushio to Tora, and then I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which I watched, and if you want me to do a review on it, let me know. And then they did Karakuri Circus, the second season of Ushio to Tora, and Idol Jihen. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there is... they did a movie, Usuzu Mizaru Garo. So, that was a movie, and then they had a special for Karakuri Circus. So that's basically all they've done so far, but I feel like big things are coming up for them.
Yeah. Which is great, having more
studios.
Yeah, that just means that there's more avenues to get these new stories, which is the same thing with, tiny bit of an offshoot conversation. There have been some people who have said that they don't like the fact that Netflix is getting into the anime game, and I'm like, having more people involved with buying up the rights to distribute anime, even if I'll give shade where it needs to be given shade. You're not really a Netflix original when it already aired in Japan. You just throw that title on there when you've bought the rights to show it.
People are aware of this.
Yeah, I mean, but that's nothing new.
No.
But still, I wasn't seeing anybody else jumping at the bit to do Hisone and Masotan or Devilman Crybaby or Be the Beginning. Like, none of these things. And now they're... I can't say they're like huge, they're taking off or anything, but they definitely have a bigger audience than they would have otherwise.
I think Netflix has made a lot of wise decisions, and I feel like a lot of people who have established themselves in anime do not want to acknowledge that. I feel like anime fans are very aware of it. And it took a couple times to get the proof that we needed that Netflix was capable of doing these things, and we have it now. But I feel like a lot of people are... I guess in a simple way of saying jealous, but...
Fanboys of distribution channels? It's weird.
But I feel like a lot of people pride themselves on what they can offer, and I don't think anybody who is a big company, let's say Crunchyroll or Funimation or you name it, ever thought Netflix was going to be a contender at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they've been proven wrong, and that makes them upset. Let's be honest.
I was going to say, some of my favorite anime, they're there. Oh, and by the way, one of the most iconic anime in all of history is going to be hitting Netflix pretty soon. Maybe you should have jumped at the opportunity, Crunchyroll.
But to get somewhat back on track before really getting on track, I feel like another reason you should be watching Studio VOLN is the fact that they have a very unique art aesthetic, and I really love it. It's very much the old school look, which I love.
And like, they're not like Dororo and Karakuri Circus. They both reflect different older styles. Like, they look very different from each other, yet they're both very kind of I would say retro styling. It doesn't seem like they do a lot of CG. When they have done CG, it's been to a point where it really isn't noticeable, with exception to their intro scene, which is laughably poor.
Karakuri Circus, when they go insane with some of the puppets, you can see the CG. But
I mean,
the carousel,
it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense,
aesthetic,
but I'm just saying. Not even the aesthetic, it's just, bit off more than you can chew drawing it. But anyways, I feel like it's very good, and I feel like it kind of will set itself apart in doing that consistently, because there's some studios I know right away looking at the anime and like, I know this came from this studio, because Jeff always laughs because he's like, oh, some YouTubers we watch who do like the next upcoming for the season. I was like, that's blank, that's Lyndon, that's, whatever. And I can usually spot them out, and I'm like, I bet you that's who's doing it. And of course he'll cover it and be like, yeah, you're right. But like this one, I don't know, at a certain point I'd be like, okay, it looks older, but I don't know. Like, and don't get me wrong, there's certain studios that do that. They have different teams, they do different projects and what have you. But certain studios are very comfortable doing one aesthetic and doing it well or doing it mediocre. Whereas Studio VOLN,
which was the studio that did Clear Card Hen.
Oh God!
I think they've only really got one style.
Shit, I always forget because I think you've asked me this before, and I'm like, shit. But I'd have to check. Really
it's just interesting to see that some studios just stay in their lane, and there's actually going to be an anime that we talk about in a little bit, where it is part of this series that has went on for like 18 seasons or something weird like that, and they've always just done the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, so Clear Card Hen was done by Madhouse, but I remember there was something else by like it being a division of. I won't get into it, but yeah, it was something else.
I mean, that is a reflection of the manga as well, which manga studio has a very particular style to it.
That's the thing is, I'll say that it's the animation wasn't the bad thing about Clear Card Hen. Let's put it that way.
No.
But anyways, yeah.
It's interesting to look at studios and what they do, and it's nice to see a new studio just kind of. Come out of the ground running. We were mentioning during a break when Sugar and I watched Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is a new studio that is an offshoot from Studio Ghibli, and you can tell that they are because
100%.
Like it's not bad, but it feels very much like
the same.
This is something that Studio Ghibli would have done, but he probably felt like they could do better.
I don't know.
It was fine. It was fine.
It was fine. It was just very obvious who they belong to. Or I shouldn't say belong to, but you know what I mean. Were once associated with.
Yeah.
But anywho, enough about studios. We'll move on. So the next one we have is Mob Psycho 100 Season 2. And I've been loving it. Before Mob Psycho Season 2 came out, I watched the first season because I was like, oh shit, I haven't watched it. I've always said I wanted to watch it and I haven't. So I quickly sped through the first season within like a day or so, and I loved it.
Isn't that nice to be able to do with a smaller No, I'm serious. Where people are talking about nice. with something like Hunter x Hunter, it's 148 episodes or something like that. It is a long one, and that is a huge barrier to entry for a lot of people. That's part of the reason we will never ever watch One Piece. I am never going to watch
I'm going to be perfectly honest, because I know some people have caught it. I did start watching One Piece, but I personally wasn't enjoying it, and I really didn't like the animation. And that's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with the story itself.
Animation from 13 years ago, it might have evolved
No, but
at this point.
It's not the fact that the animation's bad. It's just the aesthetic I don't like.
Yeah.
That's a personal thing. So, because some people are like, I saw you started it.
Like, so wasn't there also like Case Closed has like 1,200 episodes or something bizarre? But I actually want
to watch that at some point. But every time it grows, I get
that is such a huge barrier to entry. Whereas,
I
know. You hear about Mob Psycho 102, and people are like,
no, 100 season 2. Don't say 102. People will be 100 like, what the fuck?
People will hear exactly like you did, where they're like, oh man, I've heard this is like really good. I've heard that the first series was really good. A day and a half, 2 days, you're caught up on it, and then you're ready to go to be in with the zeitgeist, to be in with discussing it, which is exactly what you did.
Yeah, it was 12 episodes long, and like a friend of mine was saying the other day, he's like, I appreciate when anime can tell a story concisely within a nice time period like that. And that was exactly what it was. It established its main characters. It kind of explored the world that we were in and made it very humorous. I laughed a lot watching it, and Jeff can attest to that, because he'd be watching something else and I'd just burst out laughing when I had it on the subs. But I thought it was great. I thought it was clever. Second season, first episode was definitely a concrete way to start. If you haven't seen any of the GIFs or anything about it, definitely. He was a very... We'll say it as it said in the anime, smooth. I loved it, and so far it's been great. I can't think of anything really bad to say about it. It's if you watch the first season, it very much continues with that same aesthetic, same kind of storyline, same characters, basically. Yeah, watch it. That's all I can say, really. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Good. Watch it.
Good. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can let me know, but I can't think of, honestly, anything bad to say about it right now. Yeah, so we'll move on. My roommate is a cat.
That is the title of an anime. We did not get a cat, by the way.
We are both allergic to cats, so that's not great for us. I used to have cats, actually, before my allergies kicked in. But my roommate is a cat. It's...
Talk about an anime where we were hard out until the last, third of the first episode, and then we were like, oh, all right,
The main character is pretty unlikable, and then the other characters are throwaways, and the substantial character, ironically, is the cat. I don't know if maybe we just didn't watch. No, we watched it correctly.
No. I was saying that
front to back.
Sugar and I don't tend to watch a lot of the trailers necessarily. We'll hear about stuff and maybe get
we'll just go for it.
Yeah, and we'll just go for it and give it a shot.
And we did not see the trailer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the trailer suggested that the cat would talk and we would get that inner monologue from the cat itself. But holy, that makes this anime.
Just to make it clear, the cat can't talk. It's just inner monologue.
Yeah. We get to understand what the cat is thinking.
Yes.
As it speaks to
and
itself.
This cat is so adorable and sweet, and it has a sad story, and that gets you. But everything else about the story is very unsubstantial, insignificant. It just seems very run of the mill. It's not necessarily bad. It's just very boring.
I mean, the eventual payoff, I think, is going to be that you get to see this...
The eventual payoff is
you're going to get to see this unlikable character become a better person through having to take care of another human being. Well, not a human being. Another animal. Sorry. To us, another
Jeff's
character.
Just making a story in his mind that makes it fit.
No.
By the end,
he's having to take care of something else. One of the core things about this main character is basically that, people suck, and I hate them, and I don't want to be around them. I don't want to have to take care of anybody or anything. Mm-hmm. And now he's kind of learning the joys of being part of something else's life.
You suck!
You suck! I think I'd said before we were recording that this is one of those anime where I think down the line...
You'll want to burn your eyes.
I will. No, I'm probably just going to binge watch it at a time when it has a dub and
it won't get a dub.
And
if it gets a dub, I'll be shocked.
There have been worse anime that get a dub, and this one has a cute cat, and that's.
Did March and Imagine have a dub?
I don't know.
That would be funny.
Wasn't it? Didn't Tadakun get a dub, and we were like, "This sucks. We hate it."
Yeah, it sucks. That's us personally.
This is better than Tadakun Falls in Love.
I would say that's not true, but
I think it is. No, Tadakun was boring and trite. This is at least this has a likable character. How does
that make it better?
Tadakun Falls in Love did not have a single likable character to me when I watched it. I didn't care about any of them.
Oh, I thought you meant it's that was a good quality, is that this person had enough.
No.
I was like, what?
With my roommate as a cat.
My roommate
is a cat.
You have to make sure you say
it
right.
Yes, with this anime, I like the cat. And I want to see what happens with the cat. And as odd as that seems, that is something that down the line here, we're not actively watching it right now, obviously, as you can tell. But
as you can tell.
Down the line, it's on my list of things that I'm watching. I will watch it all.
Let's make it clear, we're watching it, but just not as actively as the other things. We haven't decided if we wanted to drop it or just binge it, but apparently Jeff's decided to binge it, so
I will binge it at a later date. It's because there's too many good anime right now.
Anywho,
I think sugar is probably just going to drop.
I don't know.
You don't sound too eager to continue it.
We'll see.
The cat is adorable, though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'll think it over. Let's move on. So the next one we're going to cover really quick is because some of you had made mention of it. I haven't really mentioned it in other podcasts. Is Pokemon Sun and Moon. I've been watching it continuously. I haven't been up to date in the sense of being exactly where the dub is, but I'm pretty deep in. It's been enjoyable. It's very much what you'd expect from Pokemon, being somewhat of a narrative throughout, but rather episodic. It's different from the video game. Yes, I played the video game. But it's been enjoyable. I'd say a lot of episodes are much better, much more well done than prior seasons, in the sense that they have a strong message, they have decent, I'd just say they have deeper messages, and the animation's a bit better. Well, it's a unique animation style as well. But yeah.
I watched, I think, the first 30 or some odd episodes.
I don't think you got that far.
Something like that. I think it was fine. I just...
Sorry, someone toppled our table here.
I'm just one of those people that I don't think that the anime has ever topped the anime that they did for Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum.
Ooh, shit.
That was when they allowed Ash to actually show that, by the way, he's been doing this for 14 years.
Well,
it allowed him to be smart. It allowed him to have, to really show, the experience that he has. And to showcase a lot of different Pokemon. Well, and the only reason that he lost in that version was, by the way, I'm going to come across a guy who has 2 legendary Pokemon.
Well, I was about to say, as you've seen in Sun and Moon, they've kind of rewritten things in a way to make it be different. So I can understand why it's different from, Pearl and so forth, but at the same token, it has some merits as well. I wouldn't say it's great.
Enjoyable.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's great. Music's pretty cute, kind of tropical theme, obviously. But yeah, it's been all right. So I just thought I'd mention that, because some of you were like, you never mention it. And I was like, I never thought it was worth mentioning. It's kind of like people who watch, Digimon or anything that's kind of like a continual thing, where it's like, it is what it is. You like it or you don't. Next one we're going to talk about is Radiance. Jeff was with me for a while, but then he decided to opt out, which is a shame, but hey, it's okay.
I'm not opt out. I'm 4 episodes behind.
You said you were done. You're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
What? No, I'm 4 episodes
behind. He's a liar!
I am not a liar. I haven't dropped
I don't think it's that great. I just don't feel like watching it. And I was like, fine. So I went ahead, and you're like, fine.
Yeah, you can keep up to date with it. I'll just catch up in a day. That's fine.
In a day. Years from now.
Well, no, because then I wouldn't be able to do it in a day.
Oh, I'm sorry. You finished Zombieland Saga? Is it
wrapped up to episode 10. No, it's...
Jeff takes a sweet time.
I watch what I'm in the mood to watch for. I don't just watch to watch. And yeah,
I'm enjoying Radiant, so it's not just watch to watch.
Radiant, to me, it feels like... It feels like a B+. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with being a B+.
No, it's just when I've got a lot of A's that I have to watch too, and whatnot.
That's super gross.
A to A+ level anime. You're weird. When I've got better anime that I need to watch.
Say that sentence again.
I've got a lot of A's to watch.
I must be tired, 'cause that's funny to me. Anyways.
It's the same thing, you were really, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but you're really enjoying Fairy Tail, and to me Fairy Tail feels like a B+.
Yeah.
And there's
it
nothing
doesn't
wrong
lie
with
about being a B+.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it being a B+.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just especially when it comes to shonen, it takes more than that to get me to watch.
For Jeff, if you want him to get off the couch, it better be A or higher.
When it comes to shonen, especially, yes.
So you're gonna binge my roommate.
At some point. I mean, that's just...
A+ material.
What? It's... I think that it offers something different than what I know Radiant is offering.
A cat in a room.
Radiant. It's another shonen that isn't as good as... Yeah, like... Even as you were watching it before, you're like, wow, this feels a lot like Fairy Tail in a lot of ways.
And it's true. It doesn't make it any less than because it borrows.
I gotcha.
But it doesn't borrow in the same way that Black Clover did. I feel like it took the same tone, the same vibe, the same kind of pacing as Fairy Tail. I don't find it's A+ necessarily, but I find it has a lot of good moral messages. It has.
I'm not watching Fairy Tail either.
I know, because you're a bitch. No, just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's just, especially when it comes to shonen, call me,
But I feel like Radiant has a lot more substance than you're letting on to be. Like, it covers a lot of things about, like, prejudice, racism, like, other things like that. It talks about fear. It talks about, already, like, I feel like it's substantial over some other shonen that...
Yeah, I mean, I've watched, like, 16 episodes of it, so it's not like I was like, ew, after 2 episodes. I'm not even ew right now.
Bitch the whole way watching it.
No.
You're like, this isn't great. I was like, I'm aware. I like it, so...
That's fine. But at the same point, lots of people really enjoyed Soul Eater, and you gave that, like, 2 episodes, and you're like, this sucks. I don't like this at all.
Well, I don't like it.
So why is it okay for you to not like a B+ shonen, and it's not okay for me?
It's not B+, though. It's soft.
Soul Eater? I can tell you right now,
and then when people told me, I know people
it.
love it, but I'm saying, especially when people told me the ending, it's like, why the fuck would I watch it? None of it made sense to me, and it's like, in the sense of
I mean, okay,
sanity.
So the ending wasn't the best, but I'm just saying is that a shonen either clicks with you or it doesn't. And this one, it's been okay so far. I've enjoyed it.
The thing I'm mad about is that you're wishy-washy about it. It's fine that people like things like Soul Eater and Fairy Tail and other things. You're the one who's been bitching the whole way with Radiant. We're like, this isn't that great. I don't know if I'll keep watching. And then you're always there watching, so it's either commit or get off the pot.
Why do I have to stay current with it? Why can I not just
No, you don't have to stay current with it. It's just when
minutes?
you watch it, you bitch. So obviously, if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But then you're always back watching.
I want it to be better than it is. Have you not watched... No, legitimately, have you not watched something and you're like, this is always like a 7. Man, I wish it was like an 8.5 or a 9.
Everything?
Like that's
I don't see what your point is. I always wish things are 10 out of 10.
But
it's not like I'm enjoying this garbage.
Yes, I'm going to... I can watch a show, enjoy what is enjoyable about it, but still be like, oh, I wish this was better.
Yes, there's a difference between being like, you know what, I wish this was a little bit better, than being like, oh my god, I don't know why you like this. I
think that's a little disingenuous. I don't feel like I was like that at all.
I wish I had like an in-house camera where you'd see him just bitch about Radiant. But anyway.
I don't think I like hate on it. It's not like a okay. No, I don't react to it like I did to Greed Island.
Well, there's few things I can think of you hate more than Greed Island.
Like, I would argue that Radiant is better than Dragon Ball Super for the most part.
It's not a high bar.
I'm just saying, and there's lots of people out there who absolutely adore Dragon Ball Super. Like, that's perfectly fine.
You're missing my point.
But so I'm not allowed to watch something and be like...
No, you just seem so unhappy watching it, yet you continue to watch it. So I'm like, why the fuck are you watching it?
What? I want to finish this arc and see if it ends up... Finish this arc.
Jeff is a complex person.
No, I just want to finish the current arc that they're on. You were the one who told me that this arc gets better and has a lot of good moments, so I'm going to finish up the arc.
Then you're like, oh, that's good enough. Let's just stop it.
I mean, hey, I don't watch Black Clover anymore. I don't watch Boruto anymore.
Well, I've stopped watching Boruto too, but that's just because it really is pretty boring. That's different. But at some point I might binge it. I haven't made up my mind. But let's move on from Radiant. Long story short, I've been enjoying it. It is, like Jeff said, B quality. It is what it is. But I find that overall it has great messages for its viewers about living with others, being with others, prejudice, and other things about society, especially a lot of things that are happening now in society that, fear is worse than what the truth is.
Yeah, it seems to borrow some stuff from like what X-Men has been doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just feels,
what?
Oh, the whole like this group of people have amazing powers and they can do amazingly great things, and yet
it's like
we've got other
them.
people, like you've got this group of people who are like, no, you should fear them, you should be terrified of them. They're responsible for everything bad that's happening, that sort of thing.
That's true.
Yeah. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I watched through the entirety of March and Mansion, and that is a garbage
talk about
fire.
Garbage that Jeff avidly watched.
That was a garbage
Jesus
fire.
Christ. It's like me repeatedly stabbing a pencil into my arm. It's like, and he made me sit through it.
I did not. I did not tell. I was just like, I'm going to press play on this episode.
And you're going to be in the room where you have to watch it.
Hey, I'm in the room with you a lot when you're watching anime, and I'm not actively watching.
I don't put on fucking March and Mansion on loop.
Loop? It was like 10 episodes.
It felt like an eternity.
You can tell Sugar and I have an interesting approach to
like Sisyphus, this was my hell. Oh, God. Anywho.
Well, I had to finish it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, my God. Brain explosion right now.
And to put it out there, there are things that you hate watch. 100%. You watch it knowing that it's bad, because it's like, I want to see how bad this gets. I want to see the train wreck. And then I want to see it start on fire. And then I want to see them attempt to fix it, and then there's more fire.
So apparently we learned Jeff is a masochist.
Are you saying there aren't any bad movies that you watch because they're bad? Like The Room. People love to watch The Room because it's so bad.
I've actually sat through that. Like, I've watched it once to say I've watched it. But I don't think March and Mansion has hit that cult classic where you had to watch it. You're just like, this is a garbage fire. I want to watch it.
Yeah,
but
that's how I felt about it.
Yep, and I was there. And I warned you the whole time to get the fuck off the road. But anyways.
Nope, I'm going to watch this train wreck.
Let's go on to something else, because I'm getting salty. No longer sugar, it's salt. Anywho, next one, Rise of the Shield Hero. So, talk about me being salty. Let's talk about the fact that the first episode was, I think, about 45 minutes-ish, almost an hour.
It was insulting to the viewer, I felt.
I'm surprised you said that, because you're like, let's keep watching, but here's my stance on it. Everybody and their dog has told me how much they love this show. To each your own. But, for me, the thing I hated the most about it wasn't the fact that it was another isekai. It wasn't the fact that it was fantasy. It wasn't any of those things, because I can enjoy those things. The thing that pissed me off so much was the fact that everyone took everyone at their word, and it was just like, yeah, let's not have a thought of our own. Like, yeah, that would totally, let's just crucify this person because reasons. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I understand to an extent what some people say, where they're like, the show even revels in the fact that it's an isekai. All the characters know that they're in an isekai, so
and
like
that's
fine. But then don't have clumsy writing. You still have to give me context. You can't just be like, this is how this situation happened because this is where we want the story to start.
Yeah.
Like, no. It is insulting to the viewer. It is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the worst opening episodes of something that I've ever seen. Nobody is inherently likable. The main protagonist is, understandably basically like flipping the bird to this entire world and is basically saying, you know what? Because of what just happened, because of what you've put me through, I'm going to finish this stupid game. I'm going to get the hell out of here because all of this is all bull. Mm-hmm. And I don't care enough. I was so insulted by it that I don't even care enough to see him get his poetic revenge, if you want to call it that, to get his justice, whatever. And then I hear that like some of the female characters involved are are hurt or beaten or something like that, and I don't know. It's bizarre to me. So many people are talking about how it gets so much better after that, and you introduce characters who are actually likable and who make you feel connected to this world. I'm like, no, I'm gone. I'm already gone.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like, I can't agree with Jeff in that part. I've seen the episodes start way worse than this one. But in the sense of, like, everything went downhill where I was like, I can't believe the writing. I can't believe these characters would feel this way. I can't believe, the second I saw these characters, I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen because it's the formula ABC. I know exactly that said person is going to fuck over other said person. It was totally foreseeable. Yeah. And that's something that drives me nuts. It's one thing to use a formula and then adapt it to something that works for what you're trying to accomplish. But then there's the fact of just doing it by the book and being like, people will love this because they don't know any better. Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of fans do know better, but that's not to insult people who like it. I know lots of people who really like it. But based on that first episode, I insta-dropped it because based on that writing alone, it lets me know as a viewer, it's like, we don't care what you think about it because you'll like it because it's an isekai. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what we plan to do. If we have a cute girl, an isekai, and all this formulaic shit that you like, you'll love it.
It feels to me like it's one of those things where SAO, its first 12 episodes, it actually had a unique sort of take on the genre, and then it went to hell. This is the most generic isekai that has ever isekai'd, to the point where I don't care about the game that they are playing. I don't care about the world that they are... Well, but it's playing like an MMORPG.
Yeah.
I don't care about the mechanics. I don't care about the characters. I don't care about anything here. And the fact that it's self-aware makes it all the worse. Because, like, when people talk... When I watched the first episode of Goblin Slayer, and I said that this is... The main problem was that it was basically just shock factor, trying to get shocked. Yeah. But I could see immediately the actual quality that existed there.
Me too.
Which is why it disappointed me. This, I don't see quality in it.
Yeah.
The monster design sucks.
Yeah.
The character designs suck. The actual performances, I don't remember anything in particular. The story is laughably bad. It is insulting to the audience. I remember watching that, and I think I looked over to you, and I was like, this is the stupidest isekai I think I've ever seen. Which is stunning when you think about the second half of SAO and then the second season of SAO, that this is laughably worse. Like, way worse.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it does improve, first of all, you don't have much more room to go before you're improving. Yeah. That's the only thing you can do. And second of all, again, if you're me, if you're me, where even stuff that's good, I sometimes don't have the time for, like Radiant. I feel like Radiant is fine. It's good. I think I rate it like a 7.5. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I don't have time sometimes for it's fine. This is laughably bad. So no, it does not deserve my time. If you like it, if you have watched beyond that and you're like, well, there are a lot of redeeming qualities that happen after the fact, great. You've lost me, though. I'm gone.
Yeah, like, it drives me nuts that right now it has, like, an 8.49 score. I know people like isekai, and I know there's a lot of traps in there, but personally, the writing was so bad that it made me incredibly angry that I couldn't watch further. And everyone has their own standard of stuff, and I'm not saying, I'm not belittling anybody for liking it. I'm just saying, for somebody who's watched a lot of anime and even read a fair amount of manga, it's insulting to the viewer.
And yeah, the only thing I've heard is like, oh, it has like Anime Girl of the Season. I do not care enough about that sort of stuff. Yeah. Give me substance. Give me... And especially when you're talking about isekai, you have to give me something else. Yeah. Overlord gave me the whole idea of like seeing him work working the system and understanding how these worlds work. And so seeing him kind of fight against another version of himself, which I think is really neat, and that's an intriguing idea that we haven't seen yet. The first half of SAO was about how like serious this all is, and actually having to formulate a life in that world, and that if you pass away in that game, we have no idea what happens to you ever. There are different things that have happened in these isekai that bring you something. Konosuba is funny. It has a lot of really great humor attached to it. It just happens to be taking place in an isekai. Slime. We'll talk about that in a little bit as it's continuing on. But it offers something unique to the genre, or at least, if not wholly unique, it does things exceptionally well. I honestly can't think of anything that Shield Hero does that is, like the pinnacle of anything of the genre. Mm-hmm. It just annoyed me. It insulted me. It insulted the audience to think that first episode was fine.
And I find it interesting when some people say to me, well, Rising of the Shield Hero overcomes some of the traits of the generic isekai anime, even though they're not refreshing. And I'm like, then what the fuck did it do? It's like, if it's not refreshing, what did it do?
Like, the fact that at the end of it, you are following a protagonist who isn't overpowered and isn't, like... First of all, if you want to talk about a character who comes in and is clearly not the hero of this world, Overlord already did it. Sorry. If you want to talk about somebody who is going to grind out from, like, level 1 and isn't this great, fantastic... First of all, they show immediately the absolute overpowered potential that this character has with their shield and the ability the shield has. It's like, we're going to play it off like this isn't one of the best things that can happen in this world. But then as soon as he figures out like how to use it, the shield is obviously going to be exceptionally overpowered and very good. So the idea that like, he got screwed over by only getting a shield instead of all these other weapons, immediately you're like, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. You can see what it does. So it doesn't offer you anything unique that way either. The only unique part of it was how badly it was written, how terrible all the characters were, how screwed over he got, and then, like, I don't even feel like rooting for him at this point. The only thing I'm hoping about is, like, man, I really hope you can just get the hell out of here. Like, because this world, everything about this sucks.
Yeah, needless to say, we're not fans.
No. And you can make something that's bad. March and Magic. You can make something that's bad. And, like, fine. If you were trying for something and it didn't work, fine. This is...
I think I said Rise of the Shield Hero. I meant to say The Rising of the Shield Hero. Whatever. I would say Rise of the Shield Hero, though. But anyways.
Yeah, it's just... It is wholly generic with exception to how inept it is. To me.
It's not very good. Let's put it that way. And again, not belittling anyone who likes it. It's just the fact that it's so bad. And I can't even say it's the animation. I won't even go as far as say character design. But that's whatever. You know, when it comes to isekais, a lot of those same character designs are pretty formulaic. But the story itself is what pissed me off the most. The fact that a lot of things were taken for granted, a lot of things were overlooked, a lot of things were accepted, and I as a viewer cannot accept them. Because I will not be belittled watching anime. But that's just me personally, and obviously Jeff as well. So, it is what it is. If you watch it, great. But we won't be watching. Next one. The next one is Run at the Wind. I don't have much to say about it other than the fact that I dropped it. I gave it a good shake. I just felt after a while, even after, I don't know, like 6-7 episodes, it was kind of boring. It wasn't really getting into the meat of running. It wasn't really progressing as much as I had wanted. It wasn't bad. The characters were still good, but it wasn't fulfilling that niche that I wanted.
Yeah, I remember watching it until a point where they were going to talk about like how his watch his running technique. It's so unique and interesting, and it doesn't feel like they ever really paid that off. And I was like, okay, so you got this character who loves to run, who apparently was belittled because he runs incorrectly, and you don't pay that off at all yet?
Well, other things going on, but yeah. Long story short, I dropped it, so...
I dropped it before you did.
Yeah, you did. So, if you want to hear more about it, you can go to the other podcast, just because I don't want it to be insanely long here, but... next one I want to talk about, actually, not me, Jeff, I never watched it, is Star Twinkle Precure.
Okay.
And a lot of you have told me about it, but I wasn't the one that went bold.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing. So, on some message boards, on some message boards I go to, they're not anime specific, but we make a topic that's about anime, and the same 12 people or so are on it all the time. And I have like 4 or 5 of these people who talk about the Precure series, and they talk about how much they enjoy it, how lovely it is, and that it can get surprisingly like really good kind of combat, which they've shown me some clips, and I was like, oh, that actually is a pretty good combat scenario that happened. That looks pretty good. But the meat and potatoes of it all seems to be that this is just a super long-running magical girl series.
Okay.
And so, very similar to Power Rangers, which, has existed in Japan for like 40 or 50 years.
How is it like Power Rangers? You mean like posing and exploding?
No, it's just that like every season has a new set of characters, it has a new set of situations, but it always involves this group of people who are, in Power Rangers sense, they are essentially, they're, what are they, Sentai? Is that what they are? Or Zenshi, something like that, where it's, we become superheroes by having this doodad that we press, and then we wear a suit and we become super powerful from it. Whereas in Precure, they're always magical girls. And so with, what is it? Star Twinkle? What was it called?
You told me it was Star Twinkle Precure.
Precure, Star Twinkle. It's the other way around. Precure comes first.
I wrote it down the way you told me.
And so the whole crux of this first one was just this girl who was really fascinated with space, ends up seeing, something kind of hit the Earth, and she has like this dream where she meets up with this cute little fuzzy character, and then the character comes alive from her book.
Is that the one where I watched it with you then? Because it was on bloody Netflix.
No. That might have been part of the Precure series.
Oh.
But no. But again, it has the exact same trap. This was way better than that.
Oh,
for
good.
Sure. That was maybe a poor version of,
I was like, wow, it's like Sailor Moon, but worse.
That's the idea, is that...
That's the idea.
No, not that it's worse, but that's the idea where our main character gets this nice, fuzzy, cute little creature, and then she ends up becoming essentially kind of like a Sailor Scout. But here it's I don't even know what the word they have. She becomes a magical girl, and she's got this destiny to help protect the universe and stuff like that.
How many episodes did you watch?
Well, I just watched the first episode. I won't continue to watch it, but
okay.
I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And if you like magical girl stuff, there's absolutely nothing in this that would like turn you off. It's not like, this is a bad magical girl anime. It's another magical girl anime. And from the sounds of it, Precure is just, it's a magical girl anime. Every season, it's a magical girl anime.
Dear God, if I had $1 for every time you said magical girl anime in this fucking...
just like with Power Rangers, apparently a couple of seasons ago, they had episodes where like every single one of them who has ever been a magical girl in the series shows up.
People sent me gifs of it. So.
And like lots of people like it. It delivers on exactly what it promises every time. I asked them, I was like, is this ever like the best anime of the year? And they're like, well, no. It just does what it always does, which is like, Power Rangers is never going to be an inherently great show, but it always delivers exactly what you kind of want it to. And that's the same sort of thing it seems like with the Precure series. So I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. The first episode is up. Let's watch it. So I watched it, and it was fine. It was saccharine. It was very sweet. It had magical girls fighting this big bad guy. They chased him away. He was like, I'll get you next time. So now we've got, our reoccurring villain. And it's just, that's what it is. It's not enough to keep my attention. But, hey, I gave the Precure series a shot. It's fine. I'm just not the one for magical girl anime.
So there's your insight into Precure. I think I watched an episode at some point, but I have no idea what season it was or part.
Yeah, no, but, whatever we watched on Netflix though, that was really bad. This was fine. It just
like I said, I might have watched it based on that GIF you sent me, but I don't remember.
And I can understand now a little bit better as to why, for so many people, something like Madoka was such a big, weird, different thing.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge audience for Magical Girl. Like, I am obviously...
And if this is what Magical Girl anime is normally like, and it has been for, like, 25 seasons or something, I could see why Madoka coming around and being like, oh, you think this is what Magical Girl stuff is like? Oh, I could see why now, like, that was such a big deal. Remember when we watched Madoka... When we watched Madoka, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, like, this is fine, it's another Magical Girl anime. Then a whole bunch of people were like, no, you don't understand the significance of this.
Oh, I completely understood. I just didn't think it was that valuable as people were.
But now I get it, that if we have this, like, 30-year history and then of Magical Girl stuff, and then all of a sudden, now you've got this, I get why for a certain demographic, it was such a big deal. Like, okay, cool. I have some context now.
As for me, I probably won't watch the Precure just because I have so much stuff to watch, and it's kind of more, to me, just kind of an extra thing to watch. And to me personally, Sailor Moon is my magical girl anime, period.
Original card captors.
To me, Sailor Moon is bae to me. But to each their own. But I totally understand why people like it. I get it. I totally get it. Nothing wrong with you liking it. Just not my cup of tea anymore, basically.
Yeah. It's clear card hen showed. You can't just keep doing the same thing and
you can do the same thing, you just don't fuck it up. It makes me so mad when people talk about clear card hen like it was fucking Jesus. It pisses me off.
Salty sugar.
I can't tell. Like, even a friend of mine this last week brought it up and is like, oh, I really enjoyed it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like losing my mind. But I, of course, just kind of smiled and nodded along. But I'm losing my mind. Anyways, so let's move on. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Dear Lord. The rage is making me lose my vocabulary. Still great. It's been great. We've been following the dub, so we're a little behind, but still up to date with the dub. It's been very good, very enjoyable. Characters are delightful. Character design is delightful. Talk about kind of that isekai vein and doing it well with a formula that's understandable and not fresh, but well done.
Yeah, you can use all the conventions of a genre. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody looks at My Hero Academia and they're like, that is the most inventive,
that's the most
original idea ever. No, it takes the conventions and executes them essentially perfectly.
So well.
And you can do that. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And that time I got reincarnated as a slime definitely is showing that as well. I think that sometimes it can just be a little overly convenient, but that's like part of the charm of it. Sometimes. No, the way in which like things just kind of work out for
who?
For
Rimuru?
Yeah, for Rimuru.
Okay, yeah.
Where the most recent episode, it was like, oh my goodness, this could be the first thing that would ever challenge me. Nope, it doesn't, because it ends up liking me. So cool, like, and that's fine.
That's cool.
That's funny. Like the way in which they approached that was like, oh man, this is gonna get serious. No,
well, that's the thing. It kind of played with expectations. You're like, well, obviously, if this person's showing up, shit's gonna hit the fan, and it's like, no, just showing up to check things out.
Just curious, like we all are about Rimuru, and that's the thing too, is that all of the characters are really enjoyable. Even even really stupid ones where you're like, really? You almost doomed everybody, but your odd ineptitude is actually kind of endearing.
Oh, you're talking about Gobta?
Yes.
I love him. He's so funny. He kills me.
Gobta
it's like, obviously...
He is inept. He is stupid.
But he's so endearing. He's such a sweetie pie.
That's
so
the
cute.
thing, is that you cheer for him.
He means so well. Like when he fought, what's his name? Gabiru. Oh my god, that killed me.
Yeah.
That killed me. I laughed so hard, I cried. But
that's the thing.
It's so funny.
You can do all these sorts of things if you make the characters likable and you make them that we care about them.
And that's the thing. It says something about the show when somebody like Gabiru, which is like totally unlikable, makes you like him.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
there's qualities about him that make him likable, even though he is not the best. I shouldn't say person. The best reptile.
No, he almost screwed over his entire race, and he just kind of acts like... It helps a lot when the character does kind of eat some crow and admits, like, oh man, I was so wrong about stuff, but just this
like,
weird this weird bravado that he has, and then like the mental gymnastics that he plays to kind of like, well, obviously this happened because this is what's really going on, instead of just being like,
reality,
no, you're just stupid and you picked a fight with the wrong person, you idiot.
There's a facade.
No, there's a facade. Like, and that's the thing that you want to spend more time there. Yeah. And maybe that's...
It's so comfortable.
Maybe that's the thing with Shield Hero. I don't want to spend any time in that world with those characters. I don't want to spend my time there. Yeah. I want to spend more time with Rimuru.
Oh yeah, and some of the people in the village, I was like, God, that's so like blank. God, like I would love to, like, it just feels like you're with friends, or you're like, God, that's funny, or God, that's something they would say, or whatever.
And I feel the same way about Overlord, where I'm like, I want to spend more time in that world. I want to see him, his conquest to take over the world. Like, I want to see that. I want to be part of that journey. Yeah. SAO at the start. I really wanted to be part of that world.
SAO, dear God.
I'm just pointing out all of the successful isekai.
Like, SAO.
Konosuba, for the most part. I was like, well, that's funny. Like, I want to continue to see the hijinks that will happen.
Yeah.
With an isekai, you need to feel like you want to be there. That's what's missing out of Shield Hero as compared to all these other things.
And Jeff laughs because the part I laugh at every time because it tickles my funny bone is one of the reptiles who serves for Gabiru is the voice of Agumon. So I die every time he talks. I'm like, that's perfect casting.
Gabiru.
That's perfect casting. I was like, that was great.
Yeah, the first time he spoke, we were like, that's Agumon.
So funny.
Another reptilian that has the same voice as Agumon.
So funny. But yeah, watch it. It's a good time. Super chill, super fun.
I would say that,
there are a couple moments where fighting and it gets kind of serious, but overall it's pretty chill.
I feel like the comedic elements hit better than even Konosuba does. Like, I feel like...
Yeah, I find it more like a natural humor that happens organically rather than Konosuba uses a lot of fan service and other things where like, like, RPGs, am I right? And you're like, yeah, but like... But like, that time I got reincarnated as a slime where you like, when somebody like fucks up, you're like, yeah, I could see myself doing that. Where it's just like, that stupid moment, sort of thing. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. Natural humor.
Watch that, isekai.
So the last one we'll talk about, which has been, I think, the talk of the town this season, and rightfully so, is The Promised Neverland. And we're going to get into slight spoilers, just talking about the first episode. It's in the first episode, so no worries. But I feel like a lot of people have talked about it, and I don't feel like it's a secret anymore. So let's get into it. So right away, we're introduced to an orphanage where we have kids ranging from babies to 12 years old. And you find out that they're promised a home to a nice family, to people that are willing to take them in. And you find out that when they're being led to the gates to go to a new home, they're not actually going to a new home, that you find out that monsters are killing them. And that's all I'm going to say for spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can can lay out just kind of the first episode as a whole, just kind of with world building and whatnot.
Well, yeah, I guess I could go on and say, like...
There's only one adult. And there's Mom, who's there kind of running the orphanage.
Let's make it simple. So there's, yes, Mom, who's running the orphanage, who's supposed to be looking after all these kids. But once they discover that... 2 kids discover that the monsters are killing them, that they're trying to figure out a way to get everyone out together. And so from then on, they're trying to figure out what would be the best way to do that, because the entire orphanage is surrounded by a huge wall. And that's all we know right now. Mm-hmm. And I know more because I read the manga up until as far as it's been published.
And I know a little more because we're like 5 episodes in now.
Yeah, we don't want to say any more because we don't want to ruin more episodes. But it's so bloody good. Like, the manga I've read as far as it's been released, it's so good. I won't say anything about the manga other than it's great.
Yeah. So and I'm keeping just with the anime.
Right. So it's
a lot
episode
of times,
4 or 5?
I think they're up to 5 now.
Okay.
A lot of times, like this has me entranced enough that part of me wants to read ahead, but also I don't want the anime. I don't want myself spoiled for the anime.
I haven't told Jeff anything purposefully.
No, Sugar has been like, oh, I want to tell you this, but I know that I can't. And I'm like, no, don't. Just because I think that there's going to be some sort of like, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I think about what would be the best way in which this podcast and Sugar's channel can go. And for me, I think that in this scenario, it is going to be that I'm coming into these fresh, and she knows what's happening, so she'll be able to...
it's delightful for me to watch him watch this.
Yeah, because of course I'm always like, I posit like theories and scenarios, and I'll be like, I think
at the end of each episode, I'm like, tell me what you think will happen.
Yeah, so that's like, what do you think's gonna happen? And then so I lay out like 4 or 5 different scenarios that I could see happening, and she's like, okay.
And then I go about my business.
It was the same thing with when the Ghost in the Shell Hollywood movie came out, and I specifically really wanted you to watch the Hollywood movie first before I watched the animated, because I was like, I think that'd actually make a really good topic to talk about, and we could get into it that way. So I'm going to try to remain as best I can spoiler free. I have done so far, and
for Ghost in the Shell?
No, for Promised Neverland.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ghost in the Shell.
No.
What?
I'm going to try to remain spoiler-free.
Yes, I have chosen to not talk about it because I know Jeff hates spoilers, so I've been a good...
Yes, and Sugar also went ahead and read Made in Abyss.
Yeah. I am very far ahead.
And
it
I
gets
have not.
sadder.
I have not. I have been spoiled on a tiny little bit of what's going to happen next.
But that wasn't my doing.
No, that was...
I was like, that was some other ass.
That was just like, oh, by the way, this happens. I'm like... Oh,
I'd been so
you
good
didn't
not
even
to say
mark spoilers.
By the way, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just about to say, this is marked as sci-fi, mystery, horror, psychological thriller shonen, and it is very much so. It's so good. Like, especially the hallway scene in the first, I think it was the first episode with Mom, and you were like, holy shit.
Oh yeah. It's like everything about it has been top notch.
Maybe it was the second episode.
Like unless they really drop the ball, this is going to probably be another one of those where it's, is this a 9.5 or is it a 10 sort of discussion?
It'll be a 10.
If they follow through on what's happening in the manga, I suppose so. It sounds like everybody is kind of all in on it. It's not...
What do you mean?
Like, fans are really, really happy with it. People who have experienced the manga are like, yeah, this is
all
great.
In that sense. I thought you meant like all in on... Okay, never mind.
People are very happy with it, regardless of their position.
Yeah,
if they're coming in fresh or if they're coming in off of the manga, people are like, this is everything we wanted from the anime.
Yeah.
So,
like, there are, like, with having read the manga, there are some things that are kind of snipped out, but obviously for time's sake, I think I know where they're going to end it and how they want to end it, so there's certain things they won't mention. But I feel like overall it's been pretty well translated to the anime. And I think everybody had the same thing when it was in the manga too, for proportions. I was like, why do they have so much shit? I was like, I don't get it. But it's an art style and it's whatever, to each their own. But if that's the most I have to complain about, well, then that says a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not really a complaint as much as an observation.
I will say that one of the nice things about it is, like, our three main characters are especially bright. Yes. They are very intelligent.
Ray, and Emma.
And so you get the frankness of people who are very, very intelligent being put into this situation where it's like there's the one who's like, yeah, let's all escape, and the other one's like, no, the smartest of us escape and use the other ones to shield us, basically. And they're like, wait, what? Because that's the kind of a conversation that you would get between characters who are very bright, who are very intelligent.
Basically looking at every facet of how they could leave and what would be the most productive way to leave. But yeah, it's very good, very psychological, very, like, where it's going to go, it's kind of like a My Hero Academia thing where it's like, I am so excited for you to see it because it's so bloody good. Like, it is such, like, on the edge of your seat. I know exactly how they're going to play out certain scenes, and it's going to be so, like, where you're holding your breath, and it's going to be so, so good. And I'm so excited because there's so many things that you don't understand yet, and oh.
I wonder, so we're obviously watching the sub, and there have been very good performances thus far. Mm-hmm. I immediately wonder, like, who is going to be playing what roles in the dub, because obviously it's going to get dubbed. Like, there's no way it can't. So I'm just like...
Well, we'll see. I'd expect it to get a dub, but you never know. Weirder things have happened.
Hey, if Black Clover gets a dub, this gets a dub, because this is also... This is huge as well in Shonen Jump, so I expect it to get a dub. But that being said, I'm just like there's nothing wrong with it. Like, so much tension and so much, like, stress,
it's
and
so
just
good.
It, like, anxiety permeates every single thing that's happening, and even points at which there's, like, some form of, like, jubilation and happiness from the characters. Like, you get that nice sigh of relief, and then it's immediate, like, they just know how to ratchet up the tension, like, immediately. So you're always a little bit on edge, which is great because it reflects how the characters are feeling as well.
Yeah.
I don't like sometimes when there's a disconnect in an anime between how the characters are feeling and how you, as the, watcher, as the observer, feels.
Yeah.
I like it when you are made to... I said the same thing with Made in Abyss. You feel uncomfortable as you watch it. The characters are uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You are on that ride with them, as opposed to, oh, I'm just watching these characters who are in a dangerous situation. No, like, you feel that danger too. And this permeates this, the Promised Neverland so well.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were doing. They got the perfect people to work on it, obviously. It has been very, very good.
And by the end of it, who knows, I might make a video of why it works. I know some people have kind of tried to cover it. I haven't watched their videos because I don't want to. I say that in the sense of, this is why I say that. Because a lot of videos I don't like watching other people's opinions because I don't want it to be integrated in what I have to say about it.
Yeah.
So Jeff knows, like, if I want to talk about blank, I won't look up other videos about it because I don't want to know what they have to say. I don't want to know...
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that point of view, someone else's point of view, to be regurgitated in what I think. I want to say exactly what I think. And specifically this in particular, because Jeff knows and my good friends know, I am a huge horror fan.
Yes.
And so this plays right up my alley. And there's so many things about this in the manga that work, and that when it's dissected is stupendous.
The amount of times that you, like, I've heard you audibly gasp when you're reading. Where
I was like, no!
Sugar, if there's one thing that I'll say about her when it comes to fiction, is that she's very bright at knowing where something is going. She can normally very, very astutely kind of guess, like, oh, this is where this narrative thread will go, this is how this is going to go, I assume that this is kind of the twist that they'll do on it, etc., etc. So to have her audibly, like, gasp and be like, I didn't see that coming, but it makes total sense, like...
Looking back on it,
yeah. I'm like, okay. So whoever's crafting this knows what they're doing and knows that you have a bright audience who is going to be able to tell where you're going if you're just going to keep it, kind of pedestrian, if I want to be somewhat negative about it. Where it's like, no, this is going to shock you, it's going to surprise you with where we're going to go, but it's going to have earned it all.
Yeah.
and that's
the thing.
Great.
And there were moments, I won't say what they are, but obviously I find that so satisfying. Same with Be the Beginning, where it's like, when I look back, it's like, why the fuck didn't I see that? It was so clear, like, I was like, but I was
misdirection.
But that's the thing, it's misdirection, and it's the fact of like, oh, this is happening, you should focus on that, because obviously that's what's important right now. It's like, well, obviously, but then it's like, but if you looked over to the right slightly, you'd be like, there's this other storyline, which seems insignificant, but you're like, fuck.
How did I? Oh, no.
And the moments, like, there were moments, like Jeff saw, I was crying. It's good. It's so bloody good. I couldn't put it down. Once I started, it was like a binge read, and I was done. Now I'm mad because it's not finished.
It's interesting because, like, the same thing happened last year, where in the very first season of the year, we watched something and we're like, that's probably the best thing that's going to air this year.
Yeah, Place Further Than the Universe.
Yeah.
And that's this. I feel like if it's not going to be number one, it's going to be up there with Dororo. Dororo. I keep saying Dororo because it's Dororo.
But I mean, this year is gonna have some absolute killer anime.
That's the thing. This year, there's so many coming back. So many that are being just like, I know you scoff at it. Fruits Basket being done properly is exciting for me and a lot of my friends. One Punch Man. You have My Hero Academia. You have Attack on Titan. You have tons of stuff this year that's going to be like, holy shit, what the fuck are we going to do?
I'm hoping the next season of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which I know it's not going to win, any major awards or anything, but that's going to be right up my alley.
Is another season coming this year?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you said
I mean, we could have so many things, but already we're like, this is top 3 for sure. Like, I can't imagine it not being.
Top 3? Oh, what would be your third?
Promised Neverland, I'm saying. Will be in the top
I know, but
3.
what would be the other third?
I mean, My Hero Academia, for sure.
Well, likely, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, see if it makes number 2 again this year.
Always a bridesmaid,
never the bride. Yeah. But we'll see. But honest to God, of all the things this season, like, it's a lighter season, thankfully, in my opinion, where there's some standouts, and those standouts are great. And it's been a little lighter, which is great to start the season, because I've had a chance to kind of get to other things and get things, the things that need focus. So, of anything, I ask you to watch The Promised Neverland. It's so freaking good. And if you like thrillers, if you like psychological pieces, this is so good. It gets so much, I can't even say better, it just continues to be great.
I will just preface that by saying that if you're the kind of person who cannot stomach seeing kids in peril, obviously this will not be for you. And that's just, it was the same thing with same thing with Made in Abyss, where if you can't, if and I say this because, again, I've got a friend on message boards who's like, I can't get over that.
Yeah.
That's a hump that I just can't get over. And I'm like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason why I showed a couple of sequences from Dororo for them, and they're like, the idea of somebody having arms that are swords, like, it makes me physically ill.
Yeah, I never knew that was a thing.
I never really thought about it that way, but I was like, okay.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Sorry, I never really thought about it that way. But yeah, that could be really, kind of gross and kind of off-putting for someone. And they're like, that, to their credit, they were like, it's not something I ever thought that would really kind of...
Well, that's the thing, like I said, I never
until you
thought...
really,
see it.
It's, yeah. Man, feel bad somewhat for Dororo, because that is excellent as well, and I feel like it is being eclipsed a little bit by The Promised Neverland, and oddly enough by Shield Hero, it seems like. Both of those are maybe getting the attention that Dororo deserves, because I can see Dororo also potentially being a 10.
Yeah. I can say that without a doubt. You can count my words by the end of this year. If you're looking for something that will be on the top 10 this year, and I would be shocked if they got pushed out, would be The Promised Neverland and Dororo. I can put money on it. I won't. But I could, because that's how confident I am. I am so confident in both of those. And who knows with the remakes, with the sequels, what could be out there. Because, Mob Psycho, second season's been really good, too. Mm-hmm. So depending how the rest of the year plays out, you never know where it could land. So, but the other thing I was going to mention, since those are all of our continuing and watching this season, I finally had a chance to obviously watch some of my plan to watch list. And something I've been planning to watch for a long time was Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. And I can't tell you enough how satisfying it was watching that movie. If you haven't watched it, it is great. The music's great, the animation's great, the characters are delightful. It's so much fun. It's very much like a caper show, and it's so delightful. And of course, as we both know, this is one of Miyazaki's early works before, things started, blowing up.
Well,
and it's so good.
Before Studio Ghibli, before even Nausicaa, because Nausicaa was made technically before Studio Ghibli was made. This was even before that.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see the talent and the passion and the love that he has for the craft even then.
And it's so enjoyable. I can't say that enough. And it's one of those things that in your lifetime I hope you watch, because it is so delightful. It is, I don't know what else to say. Yeah, it has some, flaws, but what older movie doesn't? But it's very good. So, as I'm barking, that's kind of our season right now. It's how it's looking. Who knows next season what we'll be looking. Well, I have a good idea what next season we'll be looking at. And based on what we've said, I'm sure you can figure that out too. It sounds like Saturday, Crunchyroll's going to have their awards, so sometime hopefully shortly thereafter, we'll talk about their awards and about what we think should have won, because based on their nominations, I'm not impressed. Actually kind of pissed off. But, because last year I felt like they kind of started to understand what they were doing.
Yeah. And
felt like they had a good grasp of what they needed to be doing, and then this year just told me that they had no idea. That was a fluke.
Oh, it's hard because...
In my opinion.
It's hard in the sense that, again, speaking just to my experiences with having gotten together with this group online, the tastes and what people are looking for in anime are just so varied at this point.
But I
I always tend to quote Giga sometimes here and there, but he was talking about in his 2018 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He talked about how we're to this point where two people can call themselves huge anime fans, and in the same year never watch the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any one of them more or less a fan of anime.
No, I'm not saying in that sense. I'm saying in the sense of and of course I've had talks with lots of people about this, but I don't know, some people still don't understand my perspective that it's one thing to subjectively like something and objectively know something is better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in the awards because I don't want to waste too much time here and lose kind of context. But I feel like a lot of things are taken for granted in anime, especially with Crunchyroll Awards, especially this year. And that I feel like some of the things that should have been recognized and acknowledged weren't, which is what makes me a little heartbroken. But
I mean,
and it's not the sense of it's not okay to like certain things. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that as in, the point of the Oscars is to pick the best of the best and preferably pick what is the best rather than, what pats Hollywood on the back. But in a sense of being what is objectively good.
The problem that you're going to run into is that award shows will always run into that issue. And the Oscars are genuine proof of that. How in the world something like La La Land was even nominated?
I never watched it, so I can't.
And yet you watched the one that ended up winning, and you were like, "Whoa!" This
Moonlight.
is
I didn't like it.
Yeah, and you didn't like that. And there have been. These are supposed to be people who are the cream of the crop, picking the cream of the crop, and yet how often do they get it just really wrong?
A lot.
And so seeing, unfortunately, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards kind of doing the same thing, it's understandable. I expect it because I don't think any awards shows in particular really reflect objectivity. I just don't think that really happens. I don't know. That's the reason why you've got us and 35, 30 million, not 30 million, let's say 300 other anime channels all doing their own individual top 10 Anime of the Year awards. And for the most part, I would say you that you and I tend to normally reflect MAL general ratings for the most part.
Well, usually,
not always.
But even when we were doing our top 10 list this year, you're like, do you want me to talk about personal or do you want me to be objective? And I said objective. These are the awards. Like, not awards, but you know what I mean, our top 10. So it's like, it's objectively the 10 that we think are the best based on what we watched. Yes, there are certain things we didn't get around to watching, and we said that at the beginning, and you can check my MAL if I have watched it. I might have watched it after the fact, so you can ask me if you want. But the things that didn't get mentioned are because either they weren't good enough to be on there or we didn't watch it. So objectively talking, we looked at everything from art to openers and, well, actually, we didn't take too much into openers and closers. We looked more at the animation, the writing, the music, the everything that made the anime. So, based on all that is how we got our honorable mentions and our top 10, and we were pretty... This went on for weeks. Like, this was not like... This sounds like very pretentious, but seriously, we didn't take this lightly. We talked about it for a long ass
There were
time.
some things that I had in the top 5 that, as we discussed it, went down to an honorable mention.
Yeah.
There were things that
debates.
There were things that you had higher up that when I was like, but, like, really, like, let's just talk about the objective... You know, not just how it made you feel, but objectively what happened. And you're like, okay, like, I can appreciate the fact that perhaps it needs to go down a little bit, and different things would move up in the same sort of realm. I think one of those was probably, Be the Beginning, where you had it pretty high up, and then I was like, objectively... I don't
remember where I had it, honestly. I remember we had it different spots, but I don't honestly remember where we had it.
So then we just kind of came to a consensus.
Well, no, I think Be the Beginning was like early drafts. We had it on the top 10 list, but then after looking at everything objectively and finally finishing watching some of those, we were like, no, it doesn't get to be on the top 10 list, period.
Yeah.
But like there was different things on there that moved up and down. Like, I think the one that moved the most was Legend of the Galactic Heroes, to be perfectly honest.
Overlord did as well quite a bit.
Moved right off.
Yeah, because
I fought hard for it not to be on there. And again, you can ask me why, but long story short, it's just the fact that, he wanted to look at it collectively, not just based on a season. So it made it easier for me to argue why it shouldn't be on compared to the other ones. But
so I think it's just
it's not the fact that it wasn't good. Yeah. It's just when you're comparing it to other giants, it's hard to be like, oh, it deserves to be there. Because you'd be like, why does it deserve to be next to blank? And you're like, well, it doesn't.
And so that's, like, I remember when we were looking at the nominations, we were just kind of a little underwhelmed as a whole. And it wasn't
that we were underwhelmed. It was just a lot of, like, decently well done things rather than all of it being awesome, Yeah. Like the year before, we had a lot of big hitting ones.
Like I think we were surprised that a couple of categories didn't have anything for A Place Further Than the Universe. We're like, no. Especially objectively speaking,
the one that was like most like totally irrelevant, but something to be noted anyways. It's like Best Girl, which I think is the stupidest category in my opinion, but to each their own. And, like, it picked A Place Further Than the Universe, and it didn't even pick the main girl. And I was like, what the fuck are you smoking? It's like, whatever. It's like, this is like,
but it'll make for an interesting discussion, and
we'll talk all about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So either it'll have. I'm assuming it usually goes pretty late, so I doubt it'll be that night. But the next day or two after, we'll record it, and then I'll edit it.
We could do like immediate like. What the?
Yeah, streaming and be like...
We can let it stew for a minute or two, and then we'll come to our...
God, if I streamed that, I would be the most... Like, you'd see me give, like, the biggest eye rolls and me just being pissed off. I'm serious. I get really pissed off with stuff like that. But
you just have to remember that award shows as a whole are basically pointless, and usually awards go to those who are the most successful at campaigning versus...
If you don't know anything about me, I'm a very... Can I say, how would you explain me?
Well,
that's a loaded question.
When it comes to, if you're talking about quality, you don't care so much about how it makes you feel as much as objectivity. Well,
I do care about how it makes me feel, and that's part to tell me how good it is, but I mean, like, when I'm scoring something, like when we did top 10s, it wasn't like the fact that the one that applied most to me, because obviously they're anime where I'm like, God, I can relate to this so much. But that's not how it begets more worth to me. It's like, is it well animated? Was the CG used properly? Was the music well done? Was the pacing well done? Like, all these things. And I try and look at things very practically. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that and don't see that the same way I do. But I mean, understand that.
There's a, like, if you were to look at the top 50 on MAL, there was a YouTube channel that kind of did like a top 50. Yeah. Half of them are objectively like fantastic. Or I would even argue maybe like 75% of them were objectively like, these are just the best anime. And 25% of them just seem like, these are the ones that people like the most. And like, sometimes
you ever want to hear Jeff scoff is hearing people put Hunter x Hunter in the top 10 of anything.
I appreciate it more now, but I could maybe call it a top 10 shonen of all time at this point. But
I could understand that list. It's just not 10 out of 10 material that everyone makes it out to be. And that's, again, me being practical, not being emotional over it.
When only half of your series is really good.
Exactly.
It's problematic. It's just, we'll see. At the end of the day, it might not even matter so much that some things weren't nominated. If the right winners are picked out of those categories, then I think we'll be happy overall.
Speak for yourself.
At the end of the day, one of the things that everybody was talking so highly about from last year, Bunny Girl, didn't resonate with us. And that doesn't mean objectively it shouldn't be in lots of people's top 10s or even their top 5s. Just that,
I have an opinion. I just don't want to get into it because it's so long. I just find, long story short, it's not that it was bad. It's not that anything about it was necessarily bad. It's just the fact that it got to a point where I felt like its own head was up its own ass so much when it was talking about like physics and chemistry and all this other shit that wasn't really pertinent to the story that it was trying to tell. But that's just me. But like the romance part, like the cute relationship was adorable. It was everything. But I feel like it went in the same direction as Haruhi in the sense that some things just went off the rails and I didn't appreciate it. But that's just me. I didn't like Haruhi Suzumiya either. But to each their own.
I tend to. I think that here, if we had to compare, Sugar is more likely to
be hard on
something more harshly due to the failings it has on a technical level.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be the person who overlooks the technical imperfections if it hits with me and it resonates with me emotionally.
If you want to see literally all of our MAL, if there's anything we've both watched, I can bet you any money Jeff always has one mark and I'm always one below because I'm harsher.
Well, I mean,
on almost everything.
Sounds like tens, but
usually we go eye to eye
like
with lots of
the
things.
perfect example from last year, I think, would be Hisone Tamaso-tan, where I legitimately think that everybody should watch it because it is so unique. It is so different from everything else that's out there. Technically, I understand in my mind it has issues. It's got a lot of problems here and there, but I overlook a lot of that just in the sense that, first of all, I appreciate ingenuity. I appreciate trying to do something unique, and that even in its imperfect form, I cared more about that world and what was happening in it than for things that are structurally better. And so I tend to be sometimes more emotional and forgiving if it pays off emotionally. Whereas I think
I'm not as forgiving.
Sugar would look at it, and I bet you almost anything, especially when it comes to something like Hisone Tamaso-tan, your main thing would be, this would be a classic if they didn't make those mistakes.
That's exactly how I feel.
And me, I'm like, this was great. This was fantastic despite some of the issues it has. And you're like, would have been a classic, but.
Yeah. It would have
been
And
there isn't anything inherently wrong with either of our views. We have a friend who is very easy to entertain. And so, unfortunately, when they talk about, like, well, that's really good, We don't know what that means.
Yeah, that can mean anything.
Because it could mean like, oh, that made me smile and laugh.
Yeah.
Like, lots of things that make you smile and laugh, and it's the stupidest thing imaginable.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it inherently good. It just meant that it made you laugh.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to us tonight. We're laughing at all sorts of stupid stuff.
Yeah. Anywho, we got off topic a little bit. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts before the awards, after the awards, you can get in.
The season.
Or just about the season, exactly. You can get in contact with me on YouTube, make some comments on Twitter. I don't think I've put up the Discord yet, but we'll talk about that at another point. Anywho, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem.
Always. And like always, we will see you next time. Bye.